Alright guys, so we have a brand new update for Baldur's Gate 3, possibly hundreds upon hundreds of changes here for everything from story flow to gameplay, combat, balance, mechanics, UI, graphics, you name it. Everything has been changed in this new update. Also, some of the abuses, OP stuff and stuff that was generally broken has been addressed, such as the sharpshooter perk, but we're gonna dive right in with all of the details. Now, the patch notes are pretty extensive, so we're only going to cover gameplay, balance, combat, and so on. I'm going to leave out the spoilers, story-related stuff that you will find above, but you can read them if you want to. So some of the changes here we have to the free cast tadpole power to properly now reset on long rest. This was creating infinite spell slots and sorcery points for sorcerer. This was actually a very strong abuse previously. Many of the abuses actually got fixed in this update. This is one of them, so yeah, rest in peace that build. But I mean, sorcerers will continue to be extremely strong regardless. Also, the shield interaction or while reaction can no longer be used while silenced. This was a pretty good one, a solid choice to have, and it actually saved me in a number of situations. Kind of sad to see it go this way, but I mean, it is what it is. Also, for the Club of Hill Giant Strength, this got a massive buff, so now this increases strength to 19 and not some puny 15. This means this is now going to be amazing up until Act 3, when you should get the gloves that raises that to 23. Also, Warlock Pact of the Chain summons now get to use their extra attacks more than just once. I think that this was previously bugged. Also, they made some changes to the College of Lore Bards. They can now pick which additional skill proficiency they receive. Bards that are already of the College of Lore need to respect to get their, well, choices. Also, they added spells to the Bard's magical secrets features. So we have Banishing Smite, Animate Undead, also Hunger of Hadar is here, Revivify, Rage of Enfeeblement, and all of these skills that you can see seems to be something that you can choose. It also seems that they fixed a number of enemy-related targeting issues, so enemies targeting you from above through the ceiling in the Gauntlet of Shar has been fixed. Also, they fixed NPCs attacking outside of their turn when combat starts during the forced turn-based mode. They also fixed a bunch of visual stuff, like Invoke Duplicity now works as an identical copy of your character and will no longer be naked. Plus, they fixed a leather helmet, metal helmet, and the helmet of smithing floating on some character models, something that existed, by the way, since early access at the very least. Also, Lae'zel's underwear will now more accurately reflect the color of dyes used on it. But let's move over to loot and traders. So traders who stock dyes now also stock dye removers. They also made Lady Esther available to trade with you after you've completed her quests. Fish vendors now have more fish to sell. The new bait must be doing the trick. They also fixed a number of crash issues, like crash on loading save games that had party followers with what we call local items. So I think that this is I think referring to mods. I might be wrong on that one, but I have seen some stability improvements with mods running in the new update. Also, they fixed a random crash when going to long rest in the camp on split screen. They fixed the crash in the Vulkan API. They fixed texture trying to load in twice when they were requested again while still pending unload, which could cause a crash later on. They've also fixed crashes that could occur when destroying projectiles, one that could occur when the sunlit wetlands illusion dropped, and also fixed an issue with cross saves that prevented players with unstable internet connection from creating or loading a save game. Fixed clients getting stuck on the loading screen when attempting to join a host game with mods running, and finally a crash related interaction with the transponder on the Natiloid and then opening the character sheet in the party view. Now for the combat and balance, this is going to be a longer read right here, so we're gonna go over each one of these one by one. Now, I immediately went ahead and searched for the sharpshooter, and lo and behold, this has been fixed. So the feat was not previously applying to the offhand ranged attacks. You could run a very strong build with this one using like just hand crossbows, 2 of them, and you could get like the massive plus 10 damage on the offhand attack because you would not get the -5 to attack roll penalty. Well, that has been actually fixed, and I also tested this in game. Yes, it's fully fixed, no longer abusable, but that build is still going to be strong. Others included here are for not being able to turn in combat when a character kills an enemy while outside of combat. This was most common in Baldur's Gate when you would try to attack some of those sentinel NPCs and they would just not react back. Also, multiclassing into Ranger now correctly provides proficiency in martial weapons. They fixed Archfey Warlocks not being able to use their Warlock spell slots if they are a lower level than regular spell slots when multiclassing. So this was one of the biggest buffs that prevented most people to multiclass Archfey. Well, it seems that this has been fully addressed and it should work. It should enable some of the previous non-working builds and make them better when you multiclass some of these Warlock subclasses. They've also fixed the sneak attack reaction not working if a melee finesse weapon is not equipped, and the durable feat now has the intended maximum constitution of 20. What I don't like is that NPCs are now less likely to attack spiritual weapons. This was previously a very good way to just distract them. Place a spiritual weapon on the other side of the map, they would just try to get it first before attacking your party. So yeah, lo and behold, it's no longer going to be possible, or well, it's not going to be as easy as it was before. Also, they fixed spiritual weapons and Spirit Guardian receiving a 2-hit bonus in tactician mode. And spiritual weapons upcast to 6th level will now have the correct 36 HP when spawned, so at least there's some light to the end of the tunnel. Second Wind and Lay on Hands healing amounts now correctly scale with class level rather than with overall character level, which means this is going to have slightly lower healing than before. If you were to go full on Paladin, you would probably get the full on Lay on Hands heal just like before, which is actually significant. It's one of the best heals in the game. But now that you multi-class, for example, it's no longer going to be that great, which I guess it makes sense from a balance point of view, because I mean, Paladin with some Warlock dip would be definitely broken anyway, so having a Lay on Hands that is also broken might not be the most balanced thing. Yeah, kinda makes sense, but I still hate it. Also, the Owlbear losing its rage charges once it hit level 8, yeah, that has also been addressed. A number of players actually reported that the rage charges would disappear once you would reach level 8 with that, but not for everybody for some reason. I think that this was a bug introduced in the previous update. Another great fix is for the combat AI timing out and ending the turn due to the game trying to create a puddle when it wasn't possible. Not sure if other hang-ups to the AI have been addressed in this update, but yeah, I'm glad that they are doing some changes. They also have some changes for the tactician mode, so mean locks now have increased dexterity and constitution stats as was intended. Also in tactician mode, dinosaurs now have an extra attack. Hound Master's Pole Dogs now have a terrifying howl action, and Panther Polymorph now has jump. But going over some character changes for actions and conditions, the Dragonborn Breath weapon attack now scales with your character level and uses Constitution as its saving throw. So I believe that this was previously doing like 2d6 and that was it, but it would eventually just drop off too bad once you would reach higher levels. Glad that it's now stacking up with your character level. They've also finally fixed the fear condition, causing a saving throw even when the affected character is in the direct line of sight of the source of fear. Also added a workaround for cases when casting the silence spell caused the game to freeze for long periods, and fixed certain save games where you cannot talk to any or certain NPCs after the silence or Garrett spells were used. Another really interesting change is that the symbiotic entity from the Circle of Spore Druids now works with unarmed attacks. So maybe we could create a build in which we get 2 levels, go into Circle of Spores, get this one, it lasts until a long rest, and you get some necrotic damage for your unarmed attacks. I think this could work really nice for some kind of multi-class between Druid and yeah, the Monk. That is just my speculation, but we're gonna wait and see. Also, Wild Magic Surge Retribution now also works for ranged attacks. They also fixed some of the radius not being shown up when casting certain abilities, like Crusader Mantle action now shows the aura radius during its previews. Also, Key Resonation Blast targeting now also shows the correct 5-meter AoE around the target. Also, Telekinesis spell now works correctly when you attempt to use it from the hotbar, and they fixed the Sword of Life stealing effect not triggering when dealing a critical hit. So this should now correctly apply that 1 to 10 extra necrotic damage on top of your attacks when you perform critical hits. Also, they fixed Shield of Thralls being able to stun allies. This was triggering against your entire party, even though it's a personal buff, so nice to see that. They also fixed Cloud of Dagger spells sometimes not being considered a hostile action and not starting combat. And they also fixed the Stone Skill spell granting resistance to magical damage. It should now only provide resistance to non-magical damage. And they fixed the Prepare and Brace weapon actions that required 75% movement to be available, and also fixed the associated misleading "can't be immobilized" warning when that happened. Very interesting to note is that they have not fixed the pact of the weapon, the deepened pact of the weapon, which was adding an extra attack on top of your actual attack. So I think that this means it's intended, it will continue to be in the game, because I'm just not finding any references to any of that. So yeah, this is still going to work. So if you're going with the Paladin Warlock, you're still going to absolutely blast everything. Now, level design and map. Now, for the gameplay related stuff, one interesting change is that, yeah, the Everburn blade can finally be sheathed when your character is idle. Previously, you would constantly carry this in your hand, so now you can finally sheath that on your back and just carry on. They also added a bunch of extra XP rewards for certain situations, like when discovering certain areas or going into places. So it's nice to see extra XP added on top of the existing ones. Also, a bunch of fixes for the wild magic. So wild magic surge retribution now also works for ranged attacks. Also for wild magic vine growth, and now triggering correctly for the barbarian. And finally, they fixed wild magic protective lights not highlighting affected allies. And they fixed the fist of the unbroken air not applying fall damage when pushing the target. But moving on, we have some changes to loot and items. So one of the chests in the Emerald Grove now has more treasure. I'm not sure if it means the one in the library once you finish rescuing Halsin, because that was a little bit lackluster early on. So maybe it's that, maybe a different one. Let me know down below if you find it. And interesting enough, they also improved the loot for Auntie Ethel when she is in the city, if you go on that second part of her story. They also added more gold to the Risen Road Toll House treasure, which was one of my favorite encounters actually, so now you should get more rewards out of it. They've also fixed an issue where you could store items in containers that cannot be opened, such as destructive barrels. Also fixed a bug where adding items to the chest of the mundane changed the weight of an item. Also fixed an issue where the chest of the mundane stopped functioning as intended once you arrived in Worm's Crossing. Now, for the character creation and leveling up, skill proficiency selection has been fixed on both keyboard and controller. Not sure exactly how this was bugged, but they've also removed a frame delay at the end of Origin's introduction during character creation. They've also fixed an issue where players were unable to skip the Origin character introduction when they played, and elf ears will no longer clip through helmets on the level up screen. They further fixed Drow not receiving the dancing lights cantrip in character creation, and fixed the voices of your guardian in character creation appearing in reverse order when using a controller. Now, of course, there are some performance improvements to the engine. They made miscellaneous performance optimizations, and they made minor GPU time improvements on the Vulkan renderers. Let me know down below if you're using Vulkan or if you're using DirectX 11. I'm personally using DirectX 11 since day one, but I know that in early access it was defaulting to Vulkan, so I do want to know which one of these run better for you. Also, for the launcher, they added a clearer message about mods and data mismatch and some options to help fix it, and they also added confirmation for resetting your graphics. But there are plenty more fixes in here that you will see for cinematics, for SFX, for all types of things. Pretty much everything that has not been working properly has been addressed, and then some, plus the audio and like many more in here that you will definitely love. Like, the patch is absolutely huge, so if you want to go ahead and check it out, you're going to find the links down below. This is pretty much it. However, let me know down below which is your favorite change, and in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video.